Bring us in, Grill.
Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, February 15th. My God. Guys, Studio 89, we're calling it that because that's what's been sticking, I guess. You guys own it.
We don't have a better name
out
right
there
now.
in Syracuse.
No. We kind of gave up.
We got spring baseball weather in February here. Kids are outside up in Pittsburgh anyways. That's where I'm at.
Going to 64 up here, Grill.
Beautiful when I stepped out of my house. I was shocked. And I had a jacket on because I didn't really know. And then I just stepped outside. I didn't even look at the weather. Stepped outside and I was like, oh.
It's mid-February.
Yeah.
The grass is growing.
Yeah.
Right. Allergies are high. So if my voice is a little bit raspy, it's because it doesn't know what season it is. I don't scare people, global warming, just, it's a El Nino or Nina, whatever it is. Who cares? Let's enjoy the weather. All right.
That's right.
Enough.
That's so
enough other politics and crap to talk about, and we're here to talk about sports and some of the hot topics on our minds, man. So,
well, we have a couple topics, but if you have some topics, if there's something burning in your mind right now that you want to talk about, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, I posted my first comment, which I'm always kind of hesitant to do so, to join the conversation. Social media is interesting because that you either are in it and you use it for the purposes intended to use it for, marketing, sales, just getting likes, being famous. You can do all that, right? But when you want to join the conversation, it's amazing to me the sports gets people all fired up as if they're winning a championship ring. Like the Eagles fans I saw out in Arizona, coming out irate after the game. These guys were like ready to flip cars and stuff. And I go, did they lose money? I mean, they might have lost money. I can understand that. But the way that they come out steamrolling people and wanting to fight and stuff, it's almost like I didn't know they were getting a ring too, a championship ring.
I think it's because, Grill, they live in Philadelphia and, they're probably not too happy about that too. I think this game brought them away from that mentally. And then when they realize they have to go back to that city, they're probably like, "This is
alienating
brutal."
Philly listeners if we have
this
any
is
of
the
those.
second podcast in a row. I know. But you know what? Hey, they give it back, so whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all good.
Yeah, they can dish it. They can take it. Yeah.
How was your career against the Phillies, Grill?
Well, it was an organization that let me go. Or actually, I let them go. That's the real story. But it'll put in the transaction sheet that they released me. But I asked for that release. The Philly fans are tough. I mean, they're tough, and they're top tier organization, big money organization. They expect to win. They expect to be in the fight and the hunt. So, I would love to have that same stigma here in Pittsburgh. I mean, I know that's the knock on our owner that they don't invest in the team. The Pirates. But, again, I think it's like going to my point. What I was going to bring up is the topic of all these rule changes.
Yeah,
people want to talk about that stuff. I don't know. It's crazy, but I made a comment about how people are trying to save all this time, and I don't understand how much time we need to be saving in sports. But I guess if time is money, because now all the marketing and the media controlling and the advertisements and to pay these big salaries, I guess that's the reason. Really, nobody's going to say it. Nobody's going to call it like that. But I think that's really a big, topic is this is a business of baseball. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, as all major sports are, right?
Yeah.
So getting that advertising money, they got to make it interesting to fans to bet, to drop ads, which I don't know. There's a lot of money involved, and the salaries ain't going down. They're continuing to escalate.
What about I've always thought of this too, because, and maybe this is only coming from someone because I love the sport like I do, but I've always personally kind of felt I think there are certain rule changes that have made the game better. I do think that, but I think the notion of speeding up the game like everybody is talking about, yeah. I don't really know what I think that the average of time of a game right now is a little over 3 hours, which your average football game if you're sitting down to watch that, it's probably that, if not more. But and obviously football is the most popular sport in the country.
Yeah.
I don't think that's deniable. But I wonder, because do you think, and it's interesting, I'd be interested to ask you this, Grill, but do you think that it's more of a problem with baseball needing to market the sport better in general and market some of their more popular players? Because I don't know if they just need to do a better job of that, or if they actually do need to make these rule changes and continue to try and speed up the game and make it more, I don't know, more palatable for a younger generation. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points there. I don't know. I just guess making concessions at the stake of the game. I understand some things have to be modified, but to be almost like tested and tried during a season, we as players get ready to play a game that we've played since little kids, at least for me, anyways. And then the brand of baseball changes. It's always bigger, faster, stronger. It's how world records are broken. You're like, oh, that record's never going to be broken. Well, people continue to break records because they get bigger, faster, stronger in a sense. So, doing the same thing with the game, yeah, I think there's some modifications that should be made, but there's some that just absolutely not. And to subject the integrity of the game, because if you're going to have a Hall of Fame, you're going to have all these records that talk about that. These guys were judged in different eras and different times. So it's hard to say, well, he's the home run king or he threw the fastest pitch, because technology's changing, all that stuff's changing. And then you sit there and go, well, okay, if we're going to compare a guy like George Brett, who was awesome in his heyday, right? That was a big name player. They probably made $1.5 million, $2 million a year back in the late 80s. And today, what would he make? Or just even his career numbers, comparing him to guys that maybe took steroids, and the integrity of those numbers. Again, we're starting to alter all that to say, is he or isn't he a first ballot Hall of Famer? And there's arguments like that. It'll continue to rise because, if there's standards, and that's kind of, I'm going to tie this top 100 stuff that we do into this, as we should, because if we're testing the standards of what major league athletes do, and we're trying to teach all these young kids, especially at the collegiate level, which that's the bridge between, hey, you're still an amateur and you get to be a professional in any sport, and it's not just baseball. It's every major league sport. I think you got to find that common denominator. But and of course, I think as an athlete, they will take anything, they will do anything if that's what their dedication is, to be a part, to make a career and be paid handsomely for that. They're going to just abide by it, and they don't care about what we think. It's like a scene out of that movie, The Gladiator, right? Are you not entertained? He's like, are you not entertained? It's like he's doing his deal, slaying heads and fighting for his life. And people look at major league athletes. We can yell at them, we can cheer, jeer, and they don't know that there's human beings in those uniforms too. But they don't look at that. You're supposed to be able to take that. Because why? Because you're making all this money. Why? Because you're a professional athlete. There's all these standards and stigmas against it. I'm not saying fans can't, boo and cheer and all that. I've been on both ends of that. It's part of the job. But what I'm saying is that if we're holding these guys to a standard and we keep modifying things, it makes keeping a job and keeping a standard for kids to go, what do I need to do? It's very confusing, right? I think it becomes very confusing. And then you have all these talk shows, which is great. Everybody can have a talk show and debate all these topics. But, who's making the ultimate decision? It's nobody cares about our opinion. Even it's just something that we can say we don't like it. And who's with us? Who's with us on that?
There's some murmurs out there that maybe perhaps the Hall of Fame should break it up into decades, because each decade is different. It tells a certain story about the game at the end of the day, right? Break it out into the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, steroid era, early 2000s, right? Then you bust it out into that. I mean, it's an interesting way to tell the story about the game. Whether you like it or not, steroids was, not to get into that, but steroids was part of the game.
Yes.
It is. You can't hide from that fact. Right. There was betting and gambling going on earlier than that. So
Well, if you look at, especially like you mentioned with the steroid era, you've got, guys like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire. I mean, I wasn't there for that era, but from things that I've been told from people who saw that, I mean, it was all that anybody was talking about. Anytime that the home run chase was going on, like you were cutting into those guys
every morning in the paper. I'd reading it, the Post Standard here. It'd have Sosa, McGuire every day, with their home run counts,
right?
And it was just exciting to see that. I remember it really
saved baseball, right?
Do you think it saved baseball, Grill? Do you think it was really saved because of that?
I think it drew some interest. It's no different than you go to a WWE wrestling match, and whether it's Hulk Hogan or The Rock, one of the people that people want to see, they're going to see the guy win. Everybody wants to be associated with a winner. So during that time, everybody wants to see amazing things. They want to be in a moment where they feel, hey, I paid for this ticket. I made this effort. I was there when, and to say they witnessed it, because they can't do it on the field, they feel a part of it. It's the old adage too, where it's like, we won, they lost. If you're a fan and you go, we won, but you always hear, well, they lost last night. It's always funny to me. And now being a fan on the other side, I try to watch what people say and catch myself, whether it's my son's game or whatever. Because I go, unless you're on that field, you're essentially a witness to it. And I understand being attached to it because you have a jersey and you support and all that. Especially the fans that used to say, we pay your salaries. I'm like, not really, but there's more media paying for our salaries, and the networks really pay the salaries.
Right.
That's why it's always funny. There's a big argument with the players union. Hey, to the owners, open up your books. They never do, because they don't want us to know how much they're really essentially making and taking home. And that's the argument. Like, it's kind of like divvy up the pie, but that's never going to happen. So,
well, the interesting thing about that could open up a whole nother discussion, and not to throw the buccos under the bus, but I think there's a lot of criticism that sometimes comes the way of those kind of smaller market teams, for lack of a better term, because I think you've got billionaire owners who are owning these teams, and I think you look at a team like San Diego's a small market in the sense of when you're comparing.
Yeah, they got money. People don't know there's a lot of money.
Right. But they don't operate like a small market team, like you said. Because you were in this game right in the thick of it. I mean, is the public perception that these teams are being, I guess some of these teams are being cheap, for lack of a better term? Is that, do you see that going on from your opinion?
Well, I'll just use the Pirates because I'm right underneath it, and I've played in the organization. They don't they build a core where they draft all these number one picks, and they've essentially become a feeder team to these other teams. I mean, the Yankees, we're like 4A. I call the Pittsburgh Pirates 4A in a sense, because it's like, if you're getting all these number one draft picks, which if you hang on and develop the team, you're going to make some trades and try to see what team chemistry and bolster this and that and who's your core. But you look at some of the talent and the arms that have come through here, and the players that come through here, and where they go, and they go on to win. When winning is something that used to be a part of the Pirates' ways back in the late 70s, early 70s, late 70s. And the reason being, everybody gets on this owner here is because of the what do you call it? The luxury tax. If he's getting money from the Yankees or the LA, or like I said, who can tell us how to spend your money? I can't tell a billionaire who owns a team how to spend his money. Nobody can. They don't have to like it. He doesn't care. He's entitled to. So I'll defend that part of it. But what I think that the league has to do, the commissioner's office has to do on the owner's side and the players' unions to push, is that there's a league minimum, like a team
like a salary floor.
Yeah, salary floor, like $100 million, call it, right? There's no salary cap. there's got to be a salary floor because
Agreed.
you got to be able to keep some of your star players, and that's why these guys will sign. Pirates will sign a guy to a 5-year, $80 million deal. They'll backload it to keep him there, and then other teams, once he's developed, they'll pick up the salary because they can. And then these people are people who do buy a jersey, watching some of the star players up and comers here. Cabron Hayes, he's one guy that signed third baseman here, talented kid. You wonder how long is he going to stay here? And they got a good core. They got McCutcheon as a leader back. It's exciting, but again, I think it's these owners, like in any business, you're going to tell top 100 or change the pace, Steve Grilli, chicken wings or whatever, anything that I'm doing, you're going to tell me how to, rock and ball wines, you're going to tell me how to spend my money. No, you can have an opinion about it. I'll surely take it. But in the end, it's none of our damn business. But if they want to be in business, they want to be a contender, I would think if you're able to own a team from an ego standpoint, from that winning and success breeds more money. I know when you win in the playoff shares, players get some of that championship money, and so do owners. And owners,
if you have a winner, fans will pay the money.
Right.
Fans will pay the money. They'll be there.
Fans will pay the money. They want to be a part of it. And I know that's just, again, to pick on the Pirates. I think they're one of those especially talked about teams and organizations is because it used to be a very winning organization, extremely winning organization where the pride of all that, we are family, even the Steelers and the Penguins, it's all winning. And this is when we were 10 years ago in 2013, we brought out people, just kids in the pride of this is a baseball town. These people are starved for a winning team. And, it's just sad because I think everybody wants to do it. But that's why I think they're trying to realigning the divisions to, allowing more wild card teams, making it a tournament because it's like if you got a shot, once you get into the playoffs, it is a tournament. It's a tournament now.
So what do you, as a former player, what are your thoughts on that? And especially with what we saw last year with expanded playoffs, because I've thought about this in a few different ways because I think it's good in the sense that it does incentivize. I think it could incentivize teams maybe at the trade deadline, maybe in the offseason, who are just like, you know what, I think we're like a player or two away from getting over that hump, getting a wild card spot. So maybe they're going to spend the money or make the trade to do that. But then again, I feel like it also can incentivize certain teams who are right on the bubble and who are like, you know what, maybe we are good enough to grab that second or third wild card spot, so maybe we don't have to do anything. I think it could go both ways. Which way do you see it, guys?
What do you think, Jess?
Well, I kind of think about the NBA when you're asking, and
when half the teams are allowed in the playoffs, pretty much.
It's like, do you even have to play? No wonder why they don't play defense during the regular season, So I do like the fact that a team that could be a player or two away that, it gets the fans excited,
right,
during the season that they have a chance. I think it's a good thing. The opportunity for the underdog to beat, the bigger team in the playoffs is real. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that, but how many? Like, what is that line?
Right.
What is that line?
Like the 2020 season when they let half the teams in, like that was
much.
A bit much.
Yeah.
But then again, it's a 60 game
people
season.
don't realize it.
Yeah.
Again, too, is the length of the season and guys preparing for that. It's high stress, man, and these guys' careers and adding, we got the World Baseball Classic, which is another tournament at the beginning of spring training this year, which is awesome, by the way. If you can play in it, I tell the players, do it at least once. It is so fun.
Well, Grill, we kind of want to talk about that. If you want to transition right into it, just to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you participated in the World Baseball Classic. Was it 20?
You did two of them, right?
3. I did 2006, 2009, and 2013.
Okay. 06 was the first.
The first one we had Tommy Lasorda. I have the cassette tape, and I transferred it into Audacity to make it an for. I'm trying to clean up the graininess
Casey
of it.
has no idea what you're talking about right now.
Oh, I know. Well,
Do
I know
you?
what a cassette tape is. The rest of it I understood.
Okay, all right.
Tommy Lasorda gets everybody in those little tiny showers. We had this tiny locker room. We were at Wildwood Sports at Disney. Tiny locker room, and Tommy Lasorda throws us all in there, has us so amped up, like I said, that we're like gladiators in the shower. Team Italia, who has zero shot at beating. We had Australia, which was our only shot at a win, which we did beat them, by the way. And then we had Venezuela and Dominican Republic.
Ouch.
In our and they had
So,
stacked
bro,
teams.
Here's the difference today. That Pool A, where Italy is, I don't know if you saw it, but they have Panama, Cuba, Netherlands, and Chinese Taipei. So
They can make it out.
That's their pool.
We got better every time, man. I think it's what I loved about the teams that I've got to play on was they actually allowed, and some of these guys were fighting, these pros over there were fighting for a spot, and it was their big league opportunity. I remember the one in Toronto in 2009 especially. These guys were like, we get to play on a big league field in a big league atmosphere. And in Canada, it's the largest per capita of Italians besides the Italian, the country itself.
Is it really?
So,
I had no idea.
I
That's
didn't know
insane.
that either. I assumed it was Utica, New York.
But Italian pride in Toronto was the blue, the Azzurri was flowing pretty good over there.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was that? Talk about that experience a little bit, because it sounds cliche. The question is and I'm sure you've been asked this, but it really is. I think when players talk about it, you can sense the, kind of the pride that they have. But what was it like representing, your heritage, representing Team Italy, wearing that name on the front of your jersey and getting to play in 3 different World Baseball Classics? Because like you said, obviously you tell players at least play in 1, but you played in 3. So what was that like?
Well, because I got to go to the reference behind me. Right, this is the thing. This is all the big league dirt. Me and my father pitched on 11 mounds throughout, the minor leagues and the big leagues, and these are all the mounds that we got to share and touch our cleats to. But the top, the baseballism sign, maybe speak to the. Here, I can see if I can lift it up here so you can read it. I don't know if you can see it. It says the name on the front of the jersey represents who you play for, and the name on the back of the jersey represents who raised you. Do them both justice. So, to be considered Italian, or your family history, your roots, to play for the country that you get to play for pridefully, it takes a whole different meaning, and it is extreme pride, and you get caught up in the emotion of it, and especially when you see. I remember, like I said, the first one we played in with Dominican and Venezuela. These people had all and I've never played winter ball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I never got to play down in Venezuela, or any of those countries in winter ball. But to hear all the cowbells and all the, I don't know what you call them, all their Latin instruments, it was loud. It was a party, and I know that the players themselves, it amped them up, and it intimidated us. I would say a little bit, because we're like, man, we got no fans here. It's like playing an away game. But yeah, it definitely, you can see it on TV, and it's gotten bigger and better every year. I remember trying to remember who it was, but Adam Jones made that catch off of Manny Machado. That's what it was. And the place went absolutely bananas. It's playoff World Series baseball in spring training. So if you can get out of going on the backfield, the half field, doing PFPs for 2 hours, where you're like, please, can we just wrap this up? All right, I think I got it down. I'd rather go eat a cannoli at the spread table and wear Team Italia.
There you go.
Yeah, and play some fun times. It's a way different experience. It's like getting out of class, to go on Ferris Bueller's Day Off for baseball players. So I know a lot of guys will enjoy that, but I'm excited to watch it.
That's amazing.
So that pool is March 8th to the 12th. And it seems like that's when it all starts. Yeah, March 8th is the earliest that it rolls, and that's with Italy in Pool A. Pool C, USA, Mexico, Colombia, Canada, Great Britain.
That's a pool right there. There we go.
So, They're only taking the winner and the runner-up of each, then move on to the second round.
What I love
in Phoenix, Arizona, by the way, for Pool C.
That's gonna be sick.
Pool A, where Italy's at, they're in Taiwan.
Really?
Yeah.
So they're going all. Wow, they're all over, huh?
Yeah.
Dang. I think I love the amount of players that. I guess the amount of players that decided to play in this World Baseball Classic, because I think sometimes in years past, players have been skeptical to do it, but I think you're seeing a lot. I mean, this is at least for the U.S. and you look at the Dominican Republic, teams like that. I mean, every single one of the best players, pretty much from these countries, are on this team. Team Italy too. I mean, I think Rizzo's there. There's up and coming guy. He's got a great last name, Vinny Pasquantino. You look at some of his numbers. He bangs. So he might be an up and coming star in the league. But I mean, you got Mike Trout and Mookie Betts in the same outfield, and then you decide, what? Oh, we're gonna get maybe Kyle Tucker in right. I mean, there are the stars that are going to be on display.
And this is, there's always been things. I was not allowed to pitch more than one inning in some of the cases because, a lot of the general managers will get nervous because it is a higher, caliber baseball played and meaningful.
It's a great lineup.
Guys are going all out, and wanting to win and whatnot. So I think they feel like, hey, are you ready? But I'm like, guy, you trained all off season. If you don't show up in spring training ready to play, I mean, this is a commercial for baseball. The World Baseball Classic is a commercial for baseball. So if you created it and then you say, well, we don't want guys to play, I get why you don't want. GMs are afraid, but I'm like, well, then why have the Classic? It's just kind of that gas pedal brake thing. It's like, all right, well, are we going to do this or not? Because you have it. And that's why I said something about these rules and some of these things. It's like, you can't do this to athletes. You can't get us hyped up and we're ready.
Right.
You guys, now it's expected. You show up to camp. It used to be back when my dad played, you would get ready in spring training. Now it's like you get 3 weeks to a month off after the season's over, if some guys take any time off, and you're back in it. So, you're expected to train, and most guys have their own personal trainers.
Right.
Anyway, so
I gotta be honest with you. I'm looking at this roster right now, and I'm jacked up.
Which one?
Right now?
U.S.
Yeah, because when this first started, it wasn't to me personally. I wasn't excited over it. I thought it was not B level, still Major League Baseball players, but it wasn't the best of the best that we had because it wasn't as big yet. And now I think with the World Cup, and watching those players, the type of athletes play in that and not miss that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, baseball's trying to get that type of feel with the World Baseball Classic. I feel like it's resonated with the American players. Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Trey Turner. Mm-hmm. I mean, really though, I'm actually excited. I might buy a T-shirt. I might buy a hat because of this, and really tune in.
Certainly, buy
and that right there is why this is what they want, and this goes back to. You're excited about a team. Now imagine the Pittsburgh Pirates through some people would be all out going like, this is our year, right? That resurrection. The Cubs had to sit through it, but the Cubs are a top tier organization. But that just goes back to our earlier conversation about getting people amped to be fans and all that. So just by you going to do that, you're like, I can't wait to be prideful about Team USA.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. And also spring training or go play at the World Baseball Classic.
It's so nice because I feel like the great thing about this World Baseball Classic too is, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like a lot of baseball fans feel the same way. I'm sure you guys do too. But, once you get that first, there's those first couple of scenes you see or the sights and sounds where you're hearing that pop of the mitt, the crack of the bat, and you're like, oh, baseball is back. This is amazing. And then you're 3 weeks into it and you're like, okay, let's just start the games, please.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing the spring. But I think now we're going to get the chance to see real bit, like Jason said, playoff type atmosphere baseball.
Immediately.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. You were reading some of the players from that USA lineup. Mm-hmm. Listen to the DR. This is the infield.
I'm nervous.
Jeremy Pena, MVP of last year's World Series, Manny Machado, Rafael Devers, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Wander Franco. In the outfield, you've got Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, and Eloy Jimenez. And then if you care about some other guys, you got Gene Segura, Nelson Cruz, Robbie Cano. I mean, this team is
Cano's still hanging
stacked.
on.
Still hanging on.
It's okay because we have Clayton Kershaw, Adam Wainwright, Nestor Cortez. Nesty. He's going to be keeping him off balance.
There you go.
We got the staff, man. I'm loving it.
It's awesome.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Oh my! It's going to be so much fun.
And you got Ken Griffey Jr. as a coach. That's pretty cool, huh?
Is he really?
He's the hitting coach for the U.S.
Who's the manager?
Andy Pettit.
Mark DeRosa.
Okay.
Do you know Mark DeRosa, Jason?
Yeah, he should be with Team Italia, shouldn't he?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
But no,
those teams are. Did you ever get the chance to see any of the? Because this is a question I actually have been pondering for a little bit. But did you get the chance to see any of the like up close and personal with Team Japan when they were there?
No.
Because I wonder I always wonder coming in what that is going to look like, because obviously there's talented players. You look at Shohei Ohtani and guys like that, but what's the real? Because I feel like the World Baseball Classic is where we can see kind of the real difference from the professional baseball in Japan and professional baseball here.
Yeah.
And not that professional baseball in Japan isn't outstanding and there aren't incredible players, but I feel like sometimes it shows that no, Major League Baseball is still the standard.
Yeah.
I feel like we see that sometimes.
That's Pool B, by the way, for Japan. I don't know if you have it up, but they're playing Korea, Australia, China, and the Czech Republic.
Those dudes are badass, man. I mean, they
they're real. Yep.
I think they won it one year, didn't they? They won.
I thought Japan did.
They did.
Ichiro was on the team.
Yeah, they're not kidding.
They're not. These guys could play Major League Baseball. I mean, look at all the guys that come over there. It's. I think it's the opposite, though, when USA guys go over there, the culture shock. I know I play with Johnny Gomes, who we'll have to have on the show, and he can speak more to it. He used to send me pictures, of like, oh, my God, get me home. And this is a guy he's a patriot, man. This guy his tattooed the American flag on his arm, thought he was going to be in the military. And, just a great teammate. I just actually saw him at the Waste Management PGA Tour. But always fun to see him, and he'll speak to the difference and have us in stitches, man. He is a funny cat and a great teammate to have on your team. But when he used to send me pictures of what he was doing and how he had taken a bowl to shower, it was just a lot of culture shock. And that alone is a lot to take, even though you're still playing the same game. It's
Grill, you mentioned Pettit. What's going on with Andy Pettit? What's his involvement?
He's the pitching coach.
He is the pitching coach for Team USA.
Yeah. Oh, there's names on that. Yeah.
This is incredible. You didn't bring up the whole roster?
Yeah, they've got the manager is Dave Nielsen, and then they've got or am I looking at the right one? Where's the managers and coaches? Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Where are we here? Oh, this took me to a different one. View roster. There we go.
I love the teams like Team Israel.
Yeah, so we got Mark DeRosa's the manager. Jerry Manuel is the bench coach. Brian McCann, another bench coach. And then you got Griffey and Andy Pettit as hitting and pitching coaches. Dino Ebel is the third base coach. Dave Righetti is the bullpen coach. So that's another name there.
Wow.
Rag,
yeah,
dude,
I mean,
awesome.
That's great.
That guy is awesome.
What a cool opportunity. It's like this is an all-star team.
It's a big deal.
I know it's,
and I'm telling you, it's a different feeling to go. Yeah, because in the regular season, you have a little runway to get ready for the playoffs. Like you play 162 games as practice for the 11 games to win a World Series. It's the craziest numbers when you break it down. That's what we always said. And then you break down the regular season, and I did anyways. And we're going to play 500 baseball, 100 games, 50 and 50. The difference between getting in the tournament, I'm going to call it the playoffs, is those 62 games. What do you do with those 62 games? Is the difference between, which is what, 90 wins is kind of like, I'd say, the benchmark to try to get in.
Sure.
Now,
yeah,
you win 90 wins hovering around
90
that.
games will get you in pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So to jump in, like I said, to have that have that I'm going to throw up because I'm playing World Series caliber baseball in spring training. It'll either get you going, and it helped. Honestly, in 2006, I was trying to make a team with the Detroit Tigers, and getting ready and amped that early, it did help me make that squad. I will say that.
Wow.
Wow.
What was because you've played in playoff games before, obviously, and pitched in big time situations. What was the difference, or was it similar at all to were those playoff games similar to those big moments on the World Baseball Classic stage?
Yeah, the stage is big.
Yeah.
The games are meaningful. I mean, even I don't know. We'll see if does Mexico play Canada. They always fight. So do these games mean something? Yeah, yeah. There's fights going on. I mean, these things get gnarly and nasty. People want to win. It's not. This is not just like eyewash game that you're seeing in spring training where you're
Yeah.
going, okay, here's another pitch and change. This poor rookie gave up 7 runs. He definitely needs, to go back to the minors. He's not ready yet. Getting his little cup of coffee in spring training. Yeah, these moments and these games matter, and you're going to see it. It's going to get intense, and I'm sure the sports betting will be just as intense too now that they have all that.
Oh, for sure. Did you mention Jerry Manuel?
I did mention
that?
Jerry
Okay.
Manuel. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find merch here, and I'm having difficulties, but I will be wearing it
Already looking
during
for
our
the merch.
podcast during the
Mound
visit
podcast.
Yep, I will be wearing it during the month of March.
Man. Well,
Maybe we should go out to a game in Phoenix, man. We should go.
I was just looking at tickets, Grill, right now. I was just looking it up. I'll tell you, man, what a year for Phoenix.
yeah.
To be a
Wow.
Phoenix resident.
How about
Right?
that? Might as well.
We could get tickets. I'm sure we could get
Business trip?
tickets.
Business trip.
Hey, we'll make
Business trip.
I'll make
We'll do the podcast.
Podcast.
We'll do the podcast there.
There
yeah.
you go.
I say we make it happen. Of course, I'm going to say that, but yeah, that would be. I mean, like you said, that atmosphere. I will always have that Adam Jones catch robbing that home run. I will have that burn. That was the screensaver.
Is that a core memory?
Oh yeah. I was watching it live. That will be for a long time. I'm not an Orioles fan. Adam Jones wasn't. It's not like Adam Jones was my favorite player or anything like that. That was my screensaver on my phone for the longest time.
Wow.
The image of that catch.
But the coolest was that teammates and Machado respect, dude. It was like that's what the beauty of it. It was just the baseball players appreciating each other's talent too. It's so much good, but I hate to focus on some of the negative, but the fun. Mexico and Canada do play on Wednesday, March 15th. That's a
Nice.
game to watch because they get heated against each other. It's incredible.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm excited. Well, I mean, not to jump off the World Baseball Classic, but I mean it's gonna lead right into the Major League Baseball season, pretty much. And I wonder, Jason, are there certain teams this year that you're kind of looking at as, I think we kind of figured it out last year where there were a couple teams that were like, okay, these are the teams that legit have a shot to win the World Series, or that we thought. And then you kind of see once the playoffs come around, a couple teams can kind of get hot at the right moment. Are there teams that you kind of can look at from from a former player's perspective and say, well, maybe everybody might be kind of sleeping on them, I guess, at the beginning of the year, but are there things that you look at as a former player?
Nobody had the Phillies. It's the team that gets hot at the end. The team. It's not. Sometimes it's not the best team that will win, especially in this format. It's a team that gets the hottest, and baseball is about confidence and who gets streakiest. Because I'll tell you what other factors nobody talks about. The time off at the end of the year. I know 2 years I could speak of. 2006, when I was there with the Tigers and we had to wait to see who won between the Mets and the Cardinals, we had 8 days off at the end of the year. It was between weather and we swept the Oakland A's and we had to wait to see who won. We had 8 days off. It didn't bode well for us as people saw. It just was we went cold.
Interesting.
And everybody said we were the better team on paper. And then in 2007, when the Rockies, remember how hot they got?
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to play the Red Sox. They too had 8 days off, a week off, 8 days off. When you stop playing a momentum, it can change the variable of how you play. And I felt like, and I didn't play every day, but damn, I had to get myself really ready, especially mentally. I felt like I was chewed taffy on the bottom of my shoe. My body was just gummy. It just was that late in the season, and you're trying to get it going, turning it off and turning it on. Your body really hurts. So if you have time off, I don't care how much training you do, when you're not in game speed and game ready mode and you're playing every day, that's why you got to play baseball every day. But yeah, that was tough. That was tough to chew on. So again, you're asking me. I love the Blue Jays. Still rooting for. They keep adding. They're going to be in a fight. They add a few more pieces. They're fun to watch. I don't know. I honestly, I haven't followed and know players like when you play. I used to go over every roster and know every guy and scouting reports. So, to be in it every day, I have to give Otis to amateur baseball here, which is what I'm paying a lot more closer attention to these days because my son's in it and I got two boys that play. So it's funny how you shift your focus a little bit, but it's fun to watch my son and who their heroes are, and having some of the current Pittsburgh Pirates over my house, which has happened recently on their winter tour. So they'll be here if they need to hide out at the barn down on the farm with grilled cheese over here.
There you go. Maybe invite a couple of them on the show, potentially.
I'll get them on the show, no doubt.
There you go.
Bednar and DeJong, all those guys. They'll come on.
Yeah, let's talk to Brian Hayes. Get a little insight from that. He's
kind of quiet.
Is he?
Yeah, I heard he's not really
I could see it. All business.
He's a shy. I don't know, just reserved. That's the word. Reserved. He's a very kind of reserved guy.
Charlie Hayes' son.
Charlie Hayes is not opposite. Charlie Hayes was a teammate. He was a great teammate. What a boisterous guy. But his son, I think, is the opposite of him.
Interesting. Huh.
So I don't know. Huh. But yeah, no, he's a good guy and he's fun to watch. I think, like you said, the infield, you got freaks of nature on the left side there.
Yeah. Cruz. What do you think about O'Neal Cruz? Have you gotten to see him up close and personal?
Yeah, he's an avatar, dude. He's a freak, and
he's an avatar.
Yeah, he should be a breakout. I'm hoping he can have a breakout and get hot. And like I said, with Kutch in there, having that stigma of his presence and former MVP there, that rubs off on players just because you feel like, hey, I want to be like that. I want to be in the limelight and get that kind of notoriety and attention. And like I said, look at all the guys that have escaped out of here and went on to $300 million contracts and careers. Charlie Morton, dominating, winning the playoffs. And he had the best stuff. But for some reason, just whatever goes on here, it's a shame because it's good. But that's baseball, guys. That's the business of baseball.
You could point to it's interesting because I think you could point to the money and obviously, but you look at guys like you mentioned, Charlie Morton, you look at Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow. I mean, there's guys who've come through that Pirates organization on the bump specifically who have now gone on to have, incredible success.
Really good. Yep.
Do you think that, to kind of close off here, do you think that that's kind of, is that a player development thing? Is it a maybe change of scenery type thing? Because you're a guy obviously who had a lot of changes of scenery, and finally, when you got to, you kind of found a home in Pittsburgh. So it was almost not that it was the opposite for you, but I mean, you really found your footing with Pittsburgh.
Like I said, I was a first round pick too, and I just never got the silver spoon treatment. I had some injuries. There's just different variables.
Sure.
When I found a home, it was because when somebody has confidence in you and you know that you're going to play every day, your attitude, and it's easier to get ready, when you know your job, right? If you know your guy's job description and you go to work and you show up every day, you have a routine, you prepare, and you do the best you can do that day. When you don't, you're bouncing around and, well, I'm here and I'm down in the minor league. It's the most toxic level in baseball. Is
chaotic.
Chaotic. And It's really degrading, it's depressing. You feel like you got to get on that 40-man roster. If you're the only place to play this game professionally is in the big leagues. It is astounding, the treatment, the catering to the good life, and you feel like, wow, you've earned. You can see the mountaintop, and it's a euphoria of, that's where I said there is some ego feeding, and you have to do that in order to be confident to do something that is a high level, high stress occupation. And I guess that's why if I make a comment, I'm going to circle and close, to anything that I don't like about the game changes, it's because you have to continue to prepare differently. If you're going to make a harder baseball, you can't use any grip on the baseball, or you're going to make the bases bigger, or you're going to do this. And I got 30 seconds to do it. Now my mind, we talked with John Buck, my mindset is going to change somehow. And I have to adapt to it, of course, because that's what the rules are going to be, used to play at. But Do I have to like it? No. I can bitch and complain about it, but I better mold to it and figure out a new routine and adapt. Otherwise, you're out. And this game doesn't, that's what I said, there's no crying in baseball. If you don't like it, play better. If you don't like it, you better figure out how to make it a part of how you adapt your game play and your routine into all this, which is what you tell these kids at a young age. Hey, we're testing for all this stuff. Why? Because these people are looking for that and want to put you at a different, higher level. Can you hack it? Kids, can you hack what is being thrown at you? So that's sports, man. When you want to play high level, again, we're going to start seeing it in the World Baseball Classic. We're going to start seeing it. I'm watching kids yesterday being outside with this warm weather, already starting to get those juices flowing and getting some of the kinks out. And it's time. I can't believe we're here. Baseball season, man. February 15th. And
it's exciting.
All this preparation, man.
They've reported the spring training. We're going. We're off and running.
Absolutely.
We're back. It's 65, 70 degrees. A balmy 65, 70 degrees up here.
Mm-hmm. It's insane. Well, I think, and kind of like you mentioned, it's, all the things that are thrown at you in the minor leagues, and now, the minor leagues are where they're testing all of these new rules. So it's almost like another hurdle you got to step over on your path to the show, which, like you mentioned, is, I'm sure, not that I can speak from experience, but like you've said, it's euphoric when you get there. So, and I'm sure that this is now going to make it even more, gratifying once you're able to finally reach that peak. But great conversations as always today. I think that's a good place to
park it.
I know, we'll tease it here. People can be surprised, but we've got a very cool special guest lined up for next week that we'll be talking to. So definitely make sure you tune in for that. And as always, give us, subscribe to us on our YouTube page. Subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Twitter and on TikTok. We've got, all the little clips of this show that you want to be able to see. And
50-50 raffles. We'll be doing those, right?
T-shirt tosses. Yeah, we've got
$20 for an arm length.
Just bring the energy. Top 100 Sports here at the network. And I can't wait. Like I said, I got a slew of friends I can't wait to have on here. Said that they were happy to join the show. So, yeah, high energy people coming on. And it'll be a good time. So I hope you enjoyed talking with us today. And, guys, go get some chicken wings, Case. It's time, dude.
Two dozen hot, extra crispy. That's the way to get it. That's the order at the change of pace.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Grill, can I get a hungy real quick?
Hungy T-shirts are coming. If you haven't seen, if you're not a part of Hungy, which we are, this is part of the Hungy crew.
Hungy.
We're getting ready, baby.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's baseball season, baby.
You got to get them Hungies, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And like we mentioned, if you've got any questions you guys want to ask,
for the love of God,
Jason,
send us some questions.
Yes, send us some questions. Give us some stuff you want us to talk about. I know Jason's we were talking last night, and he was like, "Can we get some phone callers in on this? We'll figure out.
Let's dial
how
in
to do that.
Yeah.
Send us
Let's get a phone number first. We'll start there.
Absolutely.
I think that people are going to start asking about Justin's hair products, dude.
Dude, I need a haircut Saturday. I'm getting one. I'm done. It is Tresemme. It is Tresemme.
Only been 2 days.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. It's time to get a cut.
On that note, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Check you.